All right, welcome back in. Showing BK on the Chiefs at serious time, and obviously BK's not here, so I don't know how serious it is, but it is serious time. It's I would say sort of maybe the most important week too in the history of this show. Last time they lost, and I remember when we've done this show, BK is handling some important business. He'll be back next week, we think. Um, Last time they lost their first game was Detroit, but they were going to go play Jacksonville on the road, and Chris Jones was returning. And you felt better about that. This one is they're coming off of getting mollywopped in the Super Bowl. They're coming off of losing, and now everybody, Steve, they've gone from being the best team to maybe ever play the game of football, be thought of as the best team to ever play the game of football. And in 2 games, there are people think they're going to miss the playoffs. I've heard that. But, and I'm not going to say that the Chiefs have given very clear evidence of concern for them. And that's where I want to go with this, sort of is, and if you're listening, you're riding with us on this Friday. Where are you? Are you in the place of concern, or are you in the place of frustration with this team? Are you concerned, or are you just more frustrated? Because those are different things.
Yeah.
Those are different things.
Right now, I'm just frustrated because I think for all the issues that they showed in week 1, I think that there's answers to all of those things. And I think that for the guys that have been around on this team for a long time and the guys that they are building around and that they need to lean on, I think that those guys didn't show up and execute well enough. And I think they simply got out-coached. Like, I think they really thought the Chargers were just going to try to be run heavy and, use Amarian Hampton, that nice new, like every down running back that they drafted, and try to run the football on the Chiefs. And then when the game plan was, we're just unleashing Justin Herbert, it seemed like the Chiefs were totally unprepared for that. And that's the frustrating part. Like, yes, it sucks not having Rice. It sucks losing Worthy 3 snaps into the game, and that's going to change things on the offensive side of the ball. But I came out of this thing being way more frustrated with the defense because I just expect more from those guys. I know they've got some young players, like Jaden Hicks is going to take some time, and he's being asked to do more in year number 2 than any safety has been asked to do in a long time in a Steve Spagnuolo defense, because they've always had veteran proven guys back there. But they still got enough playmakers. They still got enough proven guys that we've seen things from. And Steve Spagnuolo's the best defensive mind in football. And Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman went toe-to-toe with him and just beat him. And that's more frustrating to me because I think that they can figure things out on offense. The defense is better than the way that they played in week 1.
Yeah, that's a difference. I'm not concerned yet because I didn't go out there thinking, Lord have mercy. Like, the Chargers just better than them. Like, the Chargers just went in there and there are some games, I don't know, like the Super Bowl. There are some games where where there ain't nothing you can do. There ain't nothing, like they just whooping your ass from that perspective. There's some of that. I didn't feel that way in the game on Friday. And for me, the biggest thing that I am frustrated about and really even confused too is, Serda, you did post game with Rocky. The thing that we heard from all the leaders, and then when Kelsey did his pod with his brother, he also echoed it. I heard Andy get up there after the game and say, I got to get my guys ready to play. We just didn't have the proper, we came out a little flat, which to Andy means a lot. we didn't have the juice we needed. Mahomes, then he came to the podium and he said, we didn't have the juice. We practiced really well all week. I don't know what happened, but it just took us some time to get going. Chris Jones, we are a team that plays with energy. He talked after he made his selfish mistake. He said we're a team that plays with energy. And we just didn't have the energy that we usually have and we need to have. Travis said he lost some of the juice after he took out Xavier Worthy and they didn't play with it. It was hard for him to get the juice back. And I just say, Steve, how the fuck do they not have juice? How the hell were they not ready to go? That is confusing to me. And I'll be honest, watching back the Super Bowl, it was weird. They didn't seem to have the energy and the intensity that you would think would match the game of the Super Bowl. Certainly not what the Eagles did. And they certainly didn't have it in the game on Friday. That's the part to me that was frustrating. Like, I'm with you with they got out coach stuff and they didn't execute well. There were a lot of dudes out there playing hero ball, Steve. There are a lot of dudes out there just saying, hell, I had hell with doing my job. I know they're going to run it. To hell with that receiver that I have. To hell with that. All of that. That's annoying, and that stuff can be fixed because that's not hey, man, we just ain't got the horses type of thing. But it is just how do you not have energy? How do you not have intensity to go? It's probably the most confusing performance of the entire dynasty that they've been in. And I'm gonna tell you what, sir. If they don't have it Sunday, like that one, I am officially concerned. If they go into the game Sunday against the team that whooped their ass and they got to try to find energy and they don't have juice at Arrowhead, then that is going to be concerning. That is something I don't think will happen. And I believe half the game on Friday, maybe they effed up and messed up stuff, but half the game on Friday, if they were playing with a certain level of intensity and force, it wouldn't have looked as bad as it did. But they just seemed dead, Serda.
Yeah. And that's even more frustrating for, like, they literally had to travel to Brazil for this game.
And I don't know, I don't know if that was it, but that didn't seem to bother the Chargers. I don't know.
Yeah.
They never seem to be able to. Yeah.
Like, it's a standalone primetime game. And I know you didn't win the Super Bowl, so you didn't open the NFL season on Thursday night. But because you're the Chiefs, you still got your own standalone Friday night season opener. And they just didn't look like they were all that interested. And this is after a training camp where, like, all we heard all training camp long was like how locked in this team seemed and how they were so ready to bounce back from this embarrassing Super Bowl loss. Then they go out in week one and they play like that. And I'm not like, in no way does that discount what the Chargers did, because I think the Chargers proved in that game, like, that with Harbaugh, this team is different. Like, this team might legitimately be a problem if Justin Herbert's finally in a good circumstance with the right guys around him who are going to put him in the best situation to possibly succeed. Like, the Chargers might legitimately be a problem and somebody that the Chiefs have to worry about this year. But
I don't know, man.
They just didn't seem like they were all that interested, aside from Patrick Mahomes out here just trying to carry everybody on his back because he seemed to be the only one who was pissed off about how they were playing. Like, that's what was so frustrating about all this, is you saw Mahomes trying everything he could to try to make this thing even a contest. And then the defense, just outside of 2 possessions to start the second half, the defense just started. It was like they lost interest again after those first 2 possessions to start the second half.
I don't even want to say they lost interest. It just, because that's like a preseason game. It just felt like they just couldn't. You know, you're tired and you just can't muster up energy. That's what it felt like. It felt like, yeah, they wanted to, but they just couldn't muster up energy. And to the point you made earlier, they were clearly in ways not confused or not prepared about stuff. That is clear. That is something we did see. They were and so when you combine not being sure at times of things, and I do think the Worthy injury early knocked something out, but they still it's I don't mean I don't even remember guys really celebrating in the same way. It was just I don't know, man. I expect to see a lot more like excitement. I saw them dancing at times in practice today. Maybe that looks like their old self. But I mean, I think you brought up something also in which I'm not in the concern camp. Patrick Mahomes was at full tilt. Like you can clearly you can see Steve Patrick Mahomes is he is in that mode. Like if you thought like, all right, man, he's taking some steps back. No, he was ready to roll. He was just forced to kind of have to deal with, a tough group around him in a situation in which they weren't prepared to go with the bullets they had, and they had to try to change things on the fly. It took them like a possession or two to get back to all right, maybe the best way for us to attack is this, this quick game offense. It took him a minute to get there, but it wasn't a lot of damn, he was missing throws like we've seen in the past. It wasn't a lot like he was ready, as you said, to put him on his back. And we did get a different Patrick Mahomes. Like I know people aren't gonna really say it because of the numbers and the Chiefs' loss, but he played every bit as well as Lamar and Josh did Sunday. Like he played every bit as good as they did. They lost, and his numbers were 258, 260 or whatever.
Yeah.
But he led his team in rushing. He had a rushing touchdown, and you got like nothing looked like they was drawing shit up as they were going, completely away from the game plan. So that makes me feel better. And I just Steve, are they gonna show us that they're still the Chiefs Sunday? That's to me, man. I mean, and I want to hear from me. That doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're gonna win, right?
Yeah.
Like I just want to see. I just want to see the Chiefs come out, them be the Chiefs, right? They've lost some games where I'm like, hey man, they kind of made some plays.
And the Eagles didn't look perfect against the Cowboys in week 1. Like they didn't look like the same team from last year either. Like they look like they have some flaws because they lost some depth this offseason. And so but they're still a Super Bowl contender. They're still one of the best teams in football, and they still have stars all over the place. So after this team kicked your ass in last year's Super Bowl and you show up sleepwalking through week 1, aside from Patrick Mahomes just out here playing out of his mind just to make it seem like the game is even within reach, like this team needs to show up and show something and improve something, because I don't have a problem with people doubting them, because that's just what's going to happen. That comes with the territory and the success that they have had. But the way that they played in week 1 just simply isn't good enough, because they are better than that. And I know that they're a better football team than that.
Yeah. And again, the kind of the start of what we talked about here, man, if they don't have juice tonight on Sunday, like if they come out again, Steve, and they're looking like they are sleepwalking, slow, then I'm gonna be like, what's going on? Like that like 3 times in a row is a trend to just kind of be slow about it. So I don't expect that. I expect to see the energy and the effort and the juice they normally have, because this is like. And again, I thought in the offseason they were being talked about like a dog, like they ain't the 3-time champions who've been to 3 straight Super Bowls and been the dominant force of the league. But they still that still wasn't a motivational factor for them to come out and get with it. I don't know if I'm hoping the Eagles team that whooped their ass is like that you would think this is a game they've circled on their schedule. And maybe that's what it was, Steve. Maybe they weren't into the Chargers because they were really ready for this one. But like all this shit that's being talked, I heard Carrington say this earlier today. All this shit that's being talked about the Chiefs, it comes to an end if they go ahead and if they take care of business against the Eagles, right? Because people are wanting to make the thought, oh man, they're done. Not, and that's the part that gets me. It's just like, oh, it's not just that the Chiefs are having some problems, but they're done. They're cooked.
Yeah.
All of that goes away if they take care of business. All right. When the Chiefs have the ball, I know frustration doesn't just go with how the defense played for you or how they overall came out. But I know you, Serda, you still can't probably let this go. Your frustration on where they are in terms of weapons in within a dynamic running back that they have in the backfield. That is also, I'll let you jump into that with the continue of your frustration.
It's just frustrating because we saw all these rookie running backs in week one, like, look good and look like they can be contributing factors to their team's offenses. And the Chiefs, like, yeah, I know. So I saw the stat going around that like the Chiefs are the only team in the NFL that had like 0 rush attempts that gained 0 yards. Like they're the only team in the NFL that didn't have a single negative rush in week one. Now, part of that is because they didn't run the ball very much. But that was kind of their thing last year, was like when they ran the ball, it was efficient. It was never a net negative, but it was far from explosive. Like you could bank on them getting, 4 yards a carry or something like that. But you also knew for a fact, like, the likelihood of somebody ripping off a 40-yard run was very, very unlikely. And it's just frustrating because this season that we're so convinced that the passing game is going to be back. It's Kelsey's last ride and Worthy and Rice and Hollywood if he can stay healthy. And then like Jalen Royals and Tyquan Thornton, like we convince ourselves that like this passing game is finally back and they're going to be explosive and they're going to be a high-flying offense again. And then Rashee Rice gets suspended for 6 games. Xavier Worthy gets hurt 3 snaps into the game. And all of a sudden, your wide receiver room is super thin again. And then rookie Jalen Royals it seems like he's going to miss some time here and still hasn't been practicing all week. Yeah. So you can't even get him on the field. And it's just like, I know that Andy Reid's going to throw the ball. I know he's going to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. But it's just so frustrating not having another element of this offense that you could lean on, that can create explosive plays, that can actually do positive things, because I think Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are fine. They're totally fine players, but they're not difference-making players, and I just want the Chiefs to have a running back that you got to be scared of. Like the Chargers, like Amarion Hampton, didn't have an explosive game in week one, but that dude's going to have big games. Like he showed enough in week one for me to be like, okay, yeah, that guy's got a chance. Like he's already a workhorse running back for them in his first game as a rookie. Like he's going to be a stud. And I just want the Chiefs to have somebody like that just have a player that can actually make a difference out of the backfield, instead of punting on running back every year until the 7th round or signing undrafted players.
Listen, Steve, I'm not going to – I understand your overall point, and I'm not going to poo-poo that point. But damn it, they gotta you don't get a chance to know if you have anybody that's a dynamic running back if you don't let them run. Like there's no understanding of, hey, what do we have? Do we have a dynamic back? Do we have that type of guy? You don't know if you don't give him the ball. And I'm not saying that Pacheco and Kareem Hunt or Smith or Mitchell, whoever, I'm not even saying that they are the dynamic backs that you're talking about. But they just punted on it, and it wasn't, and you can't have the excuse it's because it didn't work. No, they just punted on it. And yes, Andy Reid is the best offensive mind that we have had in this league since Bill Walsh. He clearly has a blind spot, and it's been in Philly and it's been here. We've watched it here. He will just punt on the run game, and not because they're not good at it. He'll punt on it because he just doesn't want to do it. And when you lost Worthy and Rice is already gone, and you got an offensive line that it's their first game together, and you got two basically rookies on the left side of your offensive line, there is no point in that game except for the final drive that they had. There is no point in that game where running the football was off the table. Never was. Never was. Not at 6-0, not at 10-7-0, 10-3, whatever, 13-6 at the half, 13-12 when they there was never at any point a place where, all right, man, we just can't run it. Isaiah Pacheco, I felt like there was enough explosiveness before he got injured last year. I'm just in the very game he got hurt.
It's not just it's not like, yes, he's mildly explosive. Like, he's got some juice. Isaiah Pacheco is just simply not going to rip off a 60-yard touchdown. Like, but it's like the fundamental things of being a running back. Like, Pacheco doesn't sidestep people. Like, he doesn't juke people. He doesn't miss people. He just puts his head down and he runs as hard as he can. And then sometimes the hole's there and he picks up a decent sized gain. And then other times he just runs straight in the back of his offensive line because he doesn't look where he's running half the time. Like, he's just only got so much he can offer as a running back. Like, and then you see these other guys that are like special players in different makers.
Steve, he's not a special player. He's not a special running back. He is a good running back. And he is, if we're going to be real about it, him at the running back position, especially when the Chiefs were limited, he at the running back position was one of the big reasons why they went on the run to win the Super Bowl. One of the big changes 2 years ago when they last won the Super Bowl was Isaiah Pacheco picking it up. And no, did he have any 150-yard games? No. But he had games where he's getting 60 to 80 yards and he's getting touchdowns and he's running hard and he's helping you get to 2nd and 5 and 2nd and 4 instead of no yards. And he's slowing down the pass rush. Like, I remember he didn't have a great game against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, but they gave him the ball. You talk about Hampton. I know I don't know what you were watching, Serda. Hampton didn't have very many runs. I'm not saying he can't be explosive. I think he can be. He just didn't have very many opportunities to do it last week. I didn't see that.
The Chiefs' run defense is still good.
Okay, but his 15 carries for 48 yards, 3.2 yards a carry, the mere threat of it helped their play action game, slowed down the pass rush, all of that. You can't go through and lose all those weapons and then just blow it. Like, I'm sorry. Isaiah Pacheco had 5 fucking carries in the game, Steve. His first carry was for 4 yards. Made it right off the bat. It's the first offensive play of the game. Made it 2nd and 6. Later on the drive where they scored their first points, where they had their first big drive, is the next time he got a carry. He ran for 6 to set up a first down, and then he runs for 10, Steve, down into the red zone and gets into it, sets up a 1st and goal after he runs for 10. Then he never gets a touch again until the 3rd quarter. And then he gets a run for 1, and in his final touch, he gets a run for 4 yards. He got 5 carries. 4 of the 5 went for 4 yards or more. I'm not saying that he's going to be Saquon Barkley. But, man, if he's averaging 5 yards a carry, Steve, and if he gets 5 carries and 4 of the 5 go for more than 4 yards, There's no reason that he doesn't get touches. And then you mix in what Kareem does. Yes, you're not going to get – that's not where the explosiveness is going to come up. Steve, I just want you to stop acting like you see 60-yard rushes every week, all the time, Steve. I just want you to first off.
Broncos rookie running back R.J. Harvey ripped off a 50-yard run. Travis Etienne ripped off a 70-yard run last week.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I've seen
how many times we see Saquon Barkley do it last year.
Yeah, okay, but we're not talking about Saquon Barkley's a special back. Derrick Henry's a special back. All right, every once in a while, I've seen him go against the Jets and rip off a 40-yard run. All right, it's not like it's happened, right? He ripped off 30 in like the first game he had against the Raiders last year, and he came back. It is about the mere threat of a run game. Steve, you can't, and I want to say this, and I know you and Rocky. I listened to you, Rocky, in the post game, just like everyone else should. And people, I didn't have any. One of the big things that I took real confidence is it is clear, Steve, that the offensive line is much better than it was last year. Not just a little bit, much better. And that's week one. And I'm going to tell you, they were that in a game in which their coach decided not to run the football. So they had to pass protect where everyone in the building figured out, well, they're not running it. They had to pass protect with no help in the run game. They couldn't get physical. And hell, when they did run it, they weren't bad, right? There were multiple times that they held up that Pat had to run and not because he was flushed out, but because he couldn't have time. Nobody got open. So the offensive line played well. And I know there was some Jawan Taylor penalty stuff, but they played well. And they didn't get any help on the run game. You can't do that, man. You can't. One of the parts about going downfield is, hey, we got a threat of a run game. Like, we can slow people down. That just can't happen, Steve. They can't go. They can't run. They can't sit back in a game, Steve, that is a one-possession game virtually the entire way and just give their two running backs 5 carries apiece. They're just not good enough. They didn't do that when they had Tyreek and Kelsey in his prime and Demarcus Robinson and Pringle. And Williams wasn't getting 5 carries. Come on, man. That's Andy's got to do. That's got to change this week. I know the Eagles' run defense is good, but you at least got to keep them. They should have just let Jalen Carter and company up there just say to hell with the run game. They're passing every time. It's gonna be a problem. That's going to be a problem. And I think the Chiefs can run the football a little bit. You brought up Royals in the injury. I was shocked. I don't know about you, Steve. You talked about Worthy as Travis Kelce took his ass out. And Travis admitted it was him. He practiced. What is today? Today's Thursday as we're recording this. He practiced today. And I don't know if that means he's going to play. I would still bet money, Steve, that he doesn't play. But I thought it was interesting to see that he did get out there and strap it up and practice. And clearly they're going to miss his speed. I have just chalked it up that he's going to miss the next couple of games. But if any way he can go like that I would advise no, let's sit him out. But if any way he can go, that was a shocking to me turn of events to see him out there practicing.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance that he plays on Sunday.
Oh, Steve, there's got to be a chance. He practiced. There's at least a slight chance.
I think it's really, really encouraging that he is practicing in a limited capacity, and he clearly had like some kind of brace and like padding on that shoulder. And so I think that is really encouraging that like there isn't any like severe like, ligament damage or something to that shoulder. And now to my understanding, like the important part is like just making sure it's like stable and that it's healing enough to where he's not going to like dislocate it again, because then you could, do damage. And so, yeah, like no surgery, no IR stint, somehow already limited participant in practice. all of that super encouraging for Xavier Worthy to be back sooner than later. But I think it would be insane for him to play this week, as much as I would like to see him do it, because I think he was going to be a focal point of the offense in week 1. And it's devastating that we didn't even get to see what that looked like, because I do think that Xavier Worthy can be a special player and be way more than just this deep downfield, like speed track star guy. Like, I think he's a good wide receiver.
Yeah.
But he's
that
got
part of
I don't think he's got any business playing this week.
I don't know. I think clearly there's a chance, or they had him out there on the practice field. Like, I think that was, there are guys that didn't practice today, right? Like, they had him on the practice field. And is he listed as questionable? I think he's listed as questionable. So they had him on the practice field listed as questionable as his injury diagnosis. But listen, you said the track star part. Yeah, I think he is more than that, and he was forced into that, which I think will help him last year when they had all the injuries. But Steve, that is a big thing that would help the Chiefs, because I'm telling you, I went back and watched that damn Super Bowl. I watched it just yesterday. The Eagles had no concerns or fears about anything downfield. They played the Chiefs the way teams used to play the Chiefs when Alex Smith was the quarterback. Everybody was right there. And then the first time they made a big play was when Worthy just ran past everybody. And then he ended up doing it when the game wasn't in the balance anymore. But that part is there. That they've got to do something to move that, because I would assume the Eagles are going to do what they did and just crowd everything. I was watching, Steve. I would pause it, man. They'd have 4 routes ran, all of them or 10 yards in, and I think a lot of that had to do with the offensive line and let's get Pat some options. But they crowded everything and nothing was open because nobody had any fear of any downfield stuff. I think Thornton is different with that. I think Hollywood Brown is different with that. And we'll see if Worthy goes. I'm with you. I don't think he can go. But, with all of that, that helps all that. My biggest thing is, Steve, I know, as you said, this may be the end to him. This may be the it. Travis Kelce has to be involved. Travis Kelce got to be more than 2 catches.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that he's got to be Travis Kelce of old, but that stuff that they're doing with Hollywood Brown, like that quick game, that quick stuff, he's got to be in some of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
They need to manufacture touches to him the way they were just feeding Hollywood Brown, who had 16 targets in week 1.
And maybe Hollywood is a guy that's that can be more downfield than doing that. But like to me, it's just the threat. And now I know him and Pat were off target. He should have caught a second touchdown in that game. He just stopped running for some reason. But there are crossing routes. And sure, man, Steve, I'm just saying, bang them for him for 5-6 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, run him a screen and get him. Like, I just, like, this to me, Steve's like, this is a 7-8 catch game for 65 to 80 yards to me for Travis. And I'm not saying, like, I don't know when the last time Travis has gone over the century mark. So I'm not even asking for that. I'm just saying, like, it's got to be volume. He's got to be a possession guy. He's got to be a threat, because they still view him that way. And I don't know, maybe they do what did they do? Do they put Bond on him? Will he just potentially just cover him? Maybe that's something that the Eagles do.
Probably.
Whatever.
I don't think they'll put Jihad Campbell on him, though. He did look really good, their rookie linebacker.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But man, there's some quick, like the first catch he got was a quick, 9 yards. And I thought, well, we're going to see them do a lot of that coming up. And, he had the crosser against Derwin James where that should have been a touchdown that he missed. Then obviously, it's got to be more than we're going to draw up a play where everything is schemed so perfectly that we then get you a catch and run for a touchdown. That's one of his receptions. It's just got to be, he's got to be more involved in that threat. He has got to be more involved And I'm not saying it's got to be a vintage Kelsey performance. Again, I'm not telling him he can't. I'm not saying it's got to be a vintage Kelsey performance. But man, he can't. We can't be rolling through here, man. We're in the fourth quarter. This guy's got 2 catches on 4 targets or 3 targets. They can get him for 4, 5, 7-yard catches. They can do that because what that's basically what he's doing with Hollywood, wasn't it? I mean, he had 10 catches for 99 yards and 49 of them came on 1 play. So that to me is
I do think some of this is like maybe they want to manage the tread on his tires, but like, 1 catch for 10 yards, like late in the game until that like kind of broken coverage touchdown, like that's not good enough when you're down to Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton being the best options and Juju being the best options that you have at wide receiver. Like, just design him some looks, get him some touches, and make the offense like a little bit more operational and smooth running. And I think it'll make a huge difference while they try to navigate this stuff until the offense is at full strength again.
I'm not saying he should have more yards than Tyquan Thornton. I'm not guaranteeing that, but he sure as hell shouldn't have less targets than him like he did Friday. Like Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, they got 1 less target, both of them, 1 less target than Kelsey. All right, it wasn't that tight. Like there's got to be some first read, bam, hit him to get him involved and look for him, because I like he'll just him being able to catch that ball and run as fast as he did to the end zone without getting touched leads me to believe he could run something to get himself open, like at some point in that. So Kelsey's got to be a big part of it. All right, when the Eagles have the ball, Serda, I'll let you go with your thoughts of things and what your big key is when the Eagles have the ball. But number one for me is like I watched. That was the thing. The Chiefs played on Friday, and then we got to watch games all day on Friday. All day on Sunday, all day on, and then we got to watch Monday. The Packers and the Commanders are playing right now as we tape it. I watched that game. They play as a whole defensively the way that Shamari Connor approaches coverage. Shamari Connor, the way he approaches coverage, there is nothing aggressive about Shamari Connor in his approach to coverage. Shamari Connor's approach to coverage is, all right, let me just not give up hell. Let me just not give up a touchdown. Hell, I'll back up 11, 12, 13 yards off the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and 6. And I'll keep backing up. But let me just not give up a first down, a touchdown. He's not playing aggressive. He's not coming up. He's not delivering nothing. He's in there like, oh God, please drop it. Please don't get it to him. Please pass rush get there. Please something. The Chiefs overall, there was no aggressiveness, no intensity towards them being the initiator of anything. There was no like, bam, you see people coming in and they are the one dictating what's happening. They have allowed themselves defensively the entire game against the Chargers, with the exception of a couple of blitzes in which Jude Tranquil was able to get through. But for the vast majority of the game, they were not the attackers ever. They were like waiting to get attacked and then reacting to them getting attacked. It was like, come on, man, guys. Like from a pass rush, from even some of their blitzes, the linebackers, no linebackers were even really coming forward. I don't remember Nick Bolton it was all right. I don't remember him just coming in and making one of those plays where, bam, you can't forget. Like you can't. There just wasn't a lot of that. To me,
Tranquil seemed like the only guy.
Yes, it
really giving you a lot of energy.
Yeah, a couple of his blitzes, he got there. And then obviously he went off on Chris Jones. And I'll be honest, I didn't really remember a lot of what Chris Jones did, with the exception of his final selfish play. But that's to me first and foremost, sort of is like, where is the attacking style? Where is the guys that are going after people and you are dictating and you're coming in? That's I want to see that early. Somebody come in there and you bam drill, Jalen Hurts, and not wait for Jalen Hurts to get to you. Or you come up there and you put Saquon Barkley on his ass and not wait for Saquon Barkley to get to you before you tackle him. Or something like, well, you remember that time when Ladarius Sneed was what the hell's his name? Why am I calling him Ladarius? Yeah, I thought I said it first the right way. At first, it just didn't sound right for some reason. When Ladarius Sneed just put AJ Brown on his ass that one time, or even time, was that him or who was it that got Tyreek and just shoved Tyreek's ass?
It was Sneed. Yeah,
Sneed
tossed him to the ground like a baby.
Yeah, and he did it to AJ. He lit up AJ's ass. Like some of that, he was dictating that. Like they were doing none of that. They were doing none of that. And I don't think they did it against the Eagles, to be honest, in the Super Bowl. They just seemed to be on their heels the whole way and just making plays as it came to them, as opposed to, no, man, we're gonna go out here and we're gonna make it happen. That's the first thing I want to see. And maybe all the other stuff. I know you got other concerns, but and I think all of the concerns that we may have all kind of revert off of be in attack mode instead of the mode of, bending and not breaking.
Yeah. Like, I still believe that this secondary can figure it out.
Well, they're not that bad.
Like we've just seen Jalen Watson play so much better than what he showed in week 1 before. And like, I'm not willing to just give up that like Jalen Watson has all of a sudden just, since last year's injury, has just like fallen off of a cliff as a player or something.
Yeah, but his last 2 games, that Super Bowl and Friday, was awful. God awful.
But we've just simply like we've seen him play so much better than what he has shown recently. Christian Fulton, yeah, I mean, hopefully we see him out there more. Because I don't think there's any fixing Shamari Connor as your slot cornerback. He just simply can't be your slot cornerback anymore. But like, I still think Jaden Hicks can be a very good player for the Chiefs secondary. He's just very young and he's being asked to do a lot in a really complicated defense. And so there's going to be some growing pains with that. But like, what this defense cannot sustain is this defensive line just generating no pressure at all. And guys not being able to win one-on-one because the Chiefs don't have a lot of explosive guys along the defensive line outside of Chris Jones, but they have to win. Like, this defensive line is healthy. Like, Charles Omenihu is supposed to give you more than what you got from him in week 1. Mike Dana is a good run player and guy who can win some of those pass rush matchups. You give George this contract, and it's like, we know who George is as a player. Is George a 15 sack guy? Probably not. But can George get you 8 to 10? Yeah. But you need George to do more than he has shown. Like, George has traditionally wins more late in the season because he's like that high motor guy, but he's just not all that explosive.
Yeah, but he's a guy that can get to the passer much better than what he showed Friday. And he was the one who had the most pressures, by the way, of anybody on the D-line.
And Omar Norman Lott looks like he's going to play. Like, we're going to get our first look at him this week since the preseason, because he was a full participant in practice all week. And, he didn't necessarily look great in the preseason, but maybe we get him in a real game where there's stakes and everything. Maybe Omar Norman Lott looks a little bit impressive, but like, they just cannot operate and function as a defense like they did last year for long stretches of time, and like they did in week 1, where they were not generating pressure at all. And so Spags is dialing up blitzes left and right just to try to get any kind of pressure. You can't do that against good teams because you're going to get burned the way that Herbert burned you. And against the Eagles, If you do that, you can really bother Jalen Hurts if you're putting pressure on him. But if you're blitzing him to try to generate that pressure because you can't do anything against that dominant Eagles offensive line, that's how Saquon Barkley winds up burning you. That's how Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown wind up burning you. And the Chiefs have to figure out how to get some pressure aside from just trying to dial up a bunch of blitzes because nobody's winning up front.
Yeah, and you just can't. And we watched it against the Eagles. You just can't keep dialing up the blitzes because Jalen Hurts eventually will kill you with his legs with him. When you're, I mean, he did that multiple times on blitzes. You could tell the game plan was let it clear through and let me run up the middle, and he hurt them repeatedly on third downs, repeatedly on runs, on blitzes. But Serda, I know the Eagles' offensive line is really good, but the combination of George, Chris Jones, and Charles Omenihu, like especially those three, they should be able to apply pressure. And we'll see about Norman Lott and the different things that they can do. But they should be able to apply pressure, sort of doing that. With those amount of guys, they should be able to apply pressure well enough because we know Chris Jones is, for the most part, going to get double team. And by the way, I don't think Landon Dickerson's going to play either. Also, I don't think Dallas Goedert is going to play either. But they should have the ability to do that. With Chris Jones getting double teamed most of the time, especially in pass rushing downs, George should be able to beat his guy at times. Charles Omenihu should be able to win one-on-ones, and we've watched them do it, right? We watched them do it against the Bills with Josh. We watched them do it against C.J. Stroud. They repeatedly sacked his ass. Like they can get pressure. It's got to be better than that. And Chris Jones is your secret, cheat code because he's just going to get double teamed and he's going to get triple teamed, and you can have somebody going one-on-ones, and they just got to be able to win. And I think for me, before we get to the game that is sweeping the nation, you talked about it. You brought his name up. Steve Spagnuolo is going to have to. He's going to have to have a come to Jesus meeting with himself, or somebody's going to have to sit down, because we sat there and watched that game Friday, Steve, and we saw between, I think, Andy and Steve Spagnuolo, they are both arguably the best coaches at what they do in the league. They've been that for a while. Hall of Fame level at what they do. They both have blind spots, and we saw both of them on full display. Andy and his absolute utter refusal to run the football at any turn, and Steve Spagnuolo and this love affair of delusion that he has with Shamari Connor in coverage. It's insane. And he's got to figure out what he's going to, because he's killing them. He's killing them. They should have got off the field, and then it just infuriated me in the second half when he put Shamari as either as a safety or just took his ass off the field, and then they started using Christian Fulton, and then the next thing you know, like we're sitting here and they're getting off the field because Trent McDuffie it's in coverage with Ladd McConkey, and it's third down, and he can't get it to him, and it works, and then he goes back to it, and like Shamari Connor, that they clearly made an adjustment in the second half, and then he adjusted back for some reason. I don't know if it's because Christian Fulton couldn't go long if he's on a snap count, but then that one drive in the fourth quarter that the Chargers went on real long killed him again because Shamari Connor was the duck that Justin Herbert kept looking to get. He could get any matchup he wanted on him. You want Keenan Allen? Yeah, I'll go. Tag, my turn. You want Ladd McConkey? Yeah, he'll go. Like it was just crazy to me. He's got to figure that out. All right, Steve, give me my music. Let's play the game that is sweeping the nation, a little certified or imposter. I give you a statement. You tell me if it's certified or imposter. Here is the statement, Steve. It is a must that Jalen Moore, the swing tackle backup guard for the Chiefs, who they gave $20 million in the offseason. Not a year, but total. It is a must that Jalen Moore starts on Sunday, certified or imposter.
I'm gonna say it's imposter. Um,
I can't believe that. Not after the way you were going off after the game.
I
Cooler
think
head.
that I think that Jawan Taylor is a frustrating player. And I think that he and Kingsley were clearly the Chiefs' two worst offensive linemen in week one. I just don't think that I think that the reason it's imposter is because I just feel like the Chiefs aren't going to do it. Like, I don't think like, I feel like fans have convinced themselves that Jawan Taylor is on some kind of leash, and I know Matt Nagy had some comments about him today and, like, how, like, he's just gotta figure that out, like, that's not like, he can't keep like, they can't stand for that, but literally, he's done that stuff his entire time with the Kansas City Chiefs, and, yeah, sure, they maybe never had a better option, and maybe they do now in Jalen Moore. I'm just not convinced that he's legitimately got some kind of leash that he's on, and that they're gonna pull him and go to Jalen Moore anytime soon.
I think it is certified, but I also believe they're not going to do it yet. I I am not convinced that Jalen Moore does not play in this game because I disagree a little bit with what you said. I think he is on a short lease. Honest to God, I think he has a holding penalty. He gets a false start. I think that could be a move to Moore in the next series. I really do because they did that to him, didn't they? That first year where he kept getting those where he was lined up too far off the ball. I saw him hit the bench, and they put somebody else in. I think it's certified because Serda, they are now probably going to be without Worthy, and we're seeing, man, they just can't afford that many mistakes, that many setbacks, right? Like I think their offense is going to be a lot better. And I don't think and I actually think we said this on the show. I actually think he does do a pretty good job when he's not committing penalties. But Serta, he committed 4 of them. He committed 4 of them. Travis Kelce, who's probably frustrated himself now that we know after he took out Xavier Worthy, he's lost his mind on him when he gets another penalty. And I just think it is their margin for error is not high enough to sustain his potential penalties a game, and I think they have a capable guy behind him that could go. This is not Wanye Morris behind him, right? This is a guy that is a capable player behind him. So I'm gonna say certified. All right. What's your prediction, Steve? How do you see this game going? Eagles coming into Arrowhead.
I have to imagine the Chiefs are going to play better and that there's going to be a better game plan against this team, especially from the top to the bottom, not just players, like coaches too, who were embarrassed about their performance last year in the Super Bowl. And I think the Eagles do have a legitimate problem at their number 2 cornerback spot. Like that
Adoree
secondary,
Jackson.
like that secondary is not as strong as it was last season. I don't think their defense and their pass rush is quite as strong as it was last season. So I think that there is weaknesses the Chiefs can try to exploit. But at the end of the day, I think that Jalen Hurts looked really, really good in week 1. And I think the Eagles offensive line is just going to be too much for the Chiefs defensive line. And so I think I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think the Chiefs are competitive, and I think that they fight and they try to get close in this thing. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles are just slightly better than the Chiefs right now. And so I'm going to take the Eagles 27-24.
All right. This is a big game to me for the Chiefs. Not that they're done if they don't, but I think right now, from everything that is swirling, there is a wonder of, are they still the Chiefs? Are they still that team? Are they still that group? Are they still the Chiefs? Are they still one of the top? And I think this team comes out and sends the message that they're still the Chiefs. I think there are some places to take advantage of that corner position. Like you can talk about the Chiefs receivers. I think Tyquan Thornton can give him problems. I think Andy can get whoever he wants to on Adoree Jackson, and even not just Adoree Jackson. I think some of their other corners are going to be a problem. And as well as Jalen Hurts played in terms to me of his composure and the control he had in week one, when they put the ball in his hands, he made some plays early. They put the ball in his hands. My man Jalen threw for about 150 some yards, and they took Barkley away and they scored 24 points. And that was with them really letting off. That second half, Matt Eberflus, they couldn't do anything on the Cowboys. So I'm going to say the Chiefs get a dub here. I'm going to say 28-20, 28-20. They win 28-20 at home against the Eagles. All right. We are out.